I've been a middle school English language arts teacher for the last 15 years. But what I don't talk a lot about on this space is that for the last 11 of those years, I've also been a literacy coach. And as a literacy coach, I have learned a lot over the past 11 years about how to effectively help teachers make the best out of that role. One thing that I've personally struggled with over the years with being a literacy coach is feeling like I always have to be taking information and bringing it to other people continuously. But a topic that has really been on my heart lately that we've been studying as a team of instructional coaches in my district is this idea of collective teacher efficacy. And with collective teacher efficacy, it holds that effect size of 1.44, which is 3 times the normal effect size that we would need to have students grow in their learning in a given school year. So thinking about collective teacher efficacy and thinking about the role of instructional coaching, how can we bring those two things together so that instructional coaches are more focused on helping teams than they are on helping teachers one-on-one? So today I'm going to go over 7 different ways that instructional coaches can help develop collective teacher efficacy within teams of teachers at their school. The first way is, and it's the first because it needs to be there if it's not, is that instructional coaches have to advocate for the resources and tools that teachers need. So if teachers don't have a curriculum, a common curriculum that they all agree on and think is high quality, that's a need. Another need is time to collaborate with each other weekly, multiple times a week, if possible. If teachers are truly going to rely on their teams, they need time to meet. Instructional coaches can actually do a lot to advocate for that. They can talk to curriculum coordinators, they can talk to principals, they can work with schedules, they can be creative to help create as much time as possible for teachers to meet. So that's the first thing, and that's the most important if it's not there. The second thing is, if these meetings are happening, show up to content area grade level meetings. So much can happen in the grade level meetings. As an instructional coach, you can get insight into the curriculum and what's being taught, why it's being taught, where resources are coming from, what needs different teachers have. And over the years, I've presented at different conferences where instructional coaches have come up to me and said, I feel a struggle of, I offer out all these things, but teachers aren't coming to me and asking me to come to their class. Well, if you are in these meetings, so much natural conversation is going to come up and opportunities will come up for instructional coaching that wouldn't otherwise be available if you're not showing up to those meetings. Another thing is show up as a person who is ready to be part of the team and ready to do the work that needs to be done in order for that team to move forward. If they need help creating a rubric or if they need a resource created, like, be willing to step in there and do what needs to happen for those teachers to move forward as well. So go in there as a team member too. The next thing is something that I actually have just started this year, but it's use a pop-in coaching model. So over the last couple of years, I've focused solely on new teachers in years 1 through 3 in our school, and I haven't been as in touch with our teachers that have taught 4 or more years in our building. And so this pop-in model is something that I've been absolutely loving. And what I do is I go into a grade level per day. So my building is 5-8. So like Mondays is 5th grade. And I would go in and spend about 15 minutes in each of the 5th grade teachers' classrooms. And I would go from classroom to classroom so that I am able to see a lesson almost from start to finish. And this gives me a really good insight into what's going on in everybody's classroom. But it's also not like this super intimidating thing of, I'm going to come into your classroom for the entire class period from start to finish, and when should we schedule this? It's just kind of like this ongoing thing that's always on the calendar that is pretty, I would say, not just the high level of intensity. It's more just a laid back thing. And then afterwards, I like to send out an email to the entire team as a whole and just share instructional strategies that are happening in each of the classrooms. Positive instructional strategies like celebrating what these people are doing. Also great conversation starters for teachers to ask each other, like, hey, tell me about, that strategy that Casey said you were using. So it definitely is something that I would highly recommend. if you're having trouble getting into classrooms. The next piece, and this goes with the pop-in coaching model, if you have that in place, is cover classes so teachers can see each other teach. I know as a teacher, sometimes I feel like this is impossible with this particular group of students, or with this student, I don't think I can do this. I don't think that I can implement this curriculum, or students can perform well on this formative assessment. That this is so why this is so important. Teachers need to see each other teach. They need to be able to go into other classrooms where the teacher has the same grade level of students teaching the same content. And I guarantee they'll walk away with this renewed sense of, wow, I saw the teacher use this strategy and I know I can bring that right back in my classroom and use it with students. With that pop-in coaching model, it can also work like a domino effect, where if I go into the first teacher's classroom, I can cover while that teacher goes into the second teacher's classroom. They come back, I cover for the second teacher, they go to the third. I come back, they come back, I cover for the third, they go to the first. And it's kind of like this little rotation where you just take one person and you can take one class period without majorly disrupting anything, and people can see each other teach. The next one is really important, and that's to help teams set goals that will move themselves forward. So as an instructional coach, how can you see where teams are at and present in a way that maybe you're not always bringing new information, but maybe you're just presenting opportunities for where they could go. And then as a team, they can decide where they need to go. Maybe they need work on their formative assessments, their proficiency rubrics, talking about data, a million things. But if you know those teams and you know the places and the goals of your school, you can present really tangible ways that teams could help move themselves forward. And if you go and read in detail the blog that I'm talking about right now, my most recent blog post, I give 10 really great ideas for what these could be. Keep a vertical vision. So as an instructional coach, you maybe are working with, like I'm working with grades 5 through 8, but teachers are working at just their grade level, and they see the grade level in front of them and the team in front of them. And as an instructional coach, one of the most important things that you can do is you can keep that vertical vision, and you can bring, when you're in those team meetings, you can bring conversations up to help teams make the best decisions for their grade level, knowing what's happening before and what's happening after them for their content level. Lead data conversations realistically and practically. If we really want teacher teams to get to that point of collective teacher efficacy, they need to be talking about student data, but that doesn't have to be this big formal thing. It could be something as simple as, let's bring our last formative assessment, bring a student that scored a 3, bring a student that scored a 2, and bring a student that scored a 1. And maybe we just talk about grading calibration, and we talk about what we're seeing for students with the 1s, like what are they needing more of? So bringing that to focus and helping facilitate those types of conversations is a great way to help teams develop that collective teacher efficacy. Just some final thoughts. I think as an instructional coach, if you're trying to go into individual teachers' classrooms and change the world individual teacher by individual teacher, hoping people are going to work with you, hoping that you can make a difference here or there in just kind of pockets of your school, I always would say go for the team over the individual. Coaching teams, teachers are a lot more receptive to the coaching of teams versus the coaching of them as individuals. It's a lot less intimidating. It's a lot more approachable. Also, I do have a great freebie on my blog, The Literacy Effect, where if you go to my most recent blog post about this, there is a free download on there that you can share with teams to just help develop that collective teacher efficacy further. Hope you got some ideas today, if you're an instructional coach, of different ways that maybe you can approach teams versus individuals and just help. Maybe you're in a little tiny bit of a rut, or maybe you're just looking for just some direction. I hope that you found at least one idea today that can do that. Thanks so much for tuning in.